time for a mow off. So what we're going to do is we're going to compare what I would call the three main Super GTs, or at least the designs that Deere has made over the years. We're going to start off, we're obviously going to be missing one in here, but we're going to start off with the 400. All three of these machines have a 60-inch deck. The 400, I don't know the year of it, but this is the 400 that I recently purchased, I believe back in March or April, and recently finished redoing the deck. You can see the new idler, stuff like that. New belt, I've already tested it out, seems to mow pretty good. Certainly not anything like the others, but we're going to try it out anyway. We have the 2001 455 that I redid a couple years ago. This was a machine that was outside most of its life, even though it only has about, well, it has well under 500 hours on it, probably close to 400, something like that. I've put about 130 hours on it since I redid it a couple years ago. Also has a 60-inch deck, completely rebuilt, new bearings, stuff like that. And then we're going to use the 2021 X758 with the 60 high capacity deck. Now, the one series of machines missing out of this lineup would be the 420, 430. I don't have one of those with a 60-inch deck. I don't even have a machine like that at the moment. I have shopping for a 430 loosely. But we're going to compromise. The reason we don't necessarily need it is the architecture of the 400 deck and the architecture of the 455 deck is very, very similar. Not really too much of a step up in terms of deck architecture and capacity, stuff like that. Meanwhile, the 60 high capacity deck, I think, really represents probably the highest capacity of the three machines we have here, and also probably the best cut, but we're going to try it out. So we've got 20 horsepower or 19.9, depending on how you look at it. We got 20 horsepower at the 400, 22 horsepower at the 455, and 24 horsepower on the X758. Obviously, the 455 and this X758 are Yanmar diesel powered, and the 400 has a Kohler engine in it. What we're going to do is we're going to use this little patch of grass that you see out in front of us. What I have done is I have already mowed the edges with the X758. By mowing the edges, basically kind of reduces the amount of overcut that we're going to have. And by doing that, I've gone around one time on the outside, and I've blown all the grass clippings out. That way we're not dealing with too much cut grass per se. I have divided this area off into three sections. If we walk down here about a third of the way, you will see my little marker right here is a corn stalk. And then basically straight over that way, there's a stick in the ground. You probably can't see it on video, but that is the first third. And how we're going to handle this is we're going to go X758 over there, 455, 400. It is an approximate square, or it's approximately square. Basically, I just pasted off. I figured we didn't need to get into such minute measurements, so I just pasted off. One side's about 52 paces and the other one's about 51 paces, so of my paces, so I'm not really too concerned about that. Each side was measured twice, and then I stepped it off to make it into thirds. So how we're going to do this is for each third section, I'm going to mow to the cut quality I desire, and I'm going to time it, and we're going to mow until I basically like the cut quality. And how I'm going to do this is I'm actually going to start down at the far end. I'm going to blow the clippings inward. That way the next mower is not having to deal with the clippings from the previous unit. So we're going to blow the clips inward for the first 2 rounds, and then we'll blow it outward after that. Or actually, now that I'm saying that, yeah, we'll blow them. We'll go around in a circle twice, and then we'll go back and forth. I think that's how I'm going to do it, but I will do it the same for all three. I may just go back and forth. I don't know. The problem is with going just straight back and forth and doing 3-point turns or turns on the ends. I think that's a better test, because then you're not having to deal with excessive amounts of grass on one end. But at the same time, the first cut, you're blowing grass over into the next cut. So I might have to think about that for a minute. But anyway, we'll time it. We'll do all the things the same. I will try to video as much as I can. I have about 25 minutes left on the SD card. And so here we go. I'm going to get set up. And I don't know if I'll necessarily video it from a tripod or, you know, sit on the machine or what. But we'll see what we can come up with. And we will figure it out. I think I'm going to start with the 400 since I haven't used it much to mow with. So I think I'm gonna start with the 400. So we'll start on this section here, and then we'll move to the 455 and then the X758. So let's see what we come up with our tests. All right, so the 400 took approximately 5 minutes and 38 seconds. I think it did a pretty good job, personally. I'll take the camera here. I mean, overall, I think it mowed really nice. Handles like a pregnant cow. When you get to the ends, it does not like to turn left. Left a couple of dandelion heads, stuff like that, but you know, just because I think that's the suction on the deck. But let's go ahead and work on the 455. I'll let the 400 cool down for a minute, and then we'll get the 455 up and rolling. All right, so the 455 was about a minute faster at 4 minutes and 35 seconds. I would suspect the X758 is going to be the same, but here we go. .58. So we have a lap time here because the operator failed to lower the deck down on the first 2 or 3 rows. So the actual cutting time was 4 minutes and 7 seconds, but then once I went back and corrected for that, it was 4 minutes and 54 seconds. I'd be tempted to take the 4 minutes and 7 seconds since I did cover the entire area in that amount of time. I just still had the deck up from transport and forgot to lower it. You know, I think everybody does that from time to time. So let's review what we've done here. All right, so right here is where we mowed with the 400. 400 obviously took us the longest at 5 minutes and 38 seconds, I believe. Did a pretty good job cutting. A couple comments that I have is the turning radius on it is extremely hard, extremely big. Hand hydrostats, and I will have to freely admit, I have not mowed with a hand hydrostat much in the last few years. So it did take me some getting used to, and also the throttle does not like to stay all the way up like it should. So I will definitely have to adjust that. But overall, I think the 400 does a really nice, good quality job. I mean, it didn't bog down in some of that, what I would call deeper grass. You have to understand that what I'm mowing, we've had a drought most of the summer, so it's not necessarily, this is the first time I've been able to do a mowing test. I really want to do a lot more of these this summer, comparatively. I even wanted to get out a round fender, but I don't think based on the rain forecast, we're even going to get that. So we've been fortunate enough to get about 2 inches of rain in the last 2 weeks. So actually about last 17 days, but so 400 overall pretty good. We'll get down to where we ran the 455. 455 did a really nice job. Obviously, have no complaints. I've used the 455 extensively to mow the yard. I think it does a really nice job cutting. You know, not too many complaints. And I think we did this in, 4 minutes and 35 seconds, so we shaved a second off. And then we get down here to where we have the X758 and high capacity deck, aside from my little screw up where I didn't put the deck down all the way. I think that this machine does an absolutely fantastic job. You know, I think it does a really good job dispersing the clippings with that high capacity deck. You know, it took us 4 minutes and 7 seconds to mow this area. And like I said, these 3 areas were approximately the same. Overall, all 3 machines worked really well. I mean, I think all three of them would make nice mowers. Obviously, comfort-wise, I honestly would have to say comfort-wise, I'd probably take the 455 over for all three of them, just for my comfort. I can tell you my wife would much prefer the X758 here. In fact, it is her mower. I'm just happened to be borrowing it for this test. The 400 is decent. I mean, it's not necessarily the world's most comfortable machine, but I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it's not the most uncomfortable machine I've ever operated. But that's the test for the 3 60-inch decks. They were pretty much the pinnacle for each era they represent. I think if I was buying a mower today, I would probably go shopping for the 455 or the X758, depending on my budget. If you have a little lower budget, 400 is not a bad choice, or even a 420 or 430. I can tell you that a 420, 430 are going to give you a similar cut to the 400. Not going to be too much different there. Probably, now that I'm thinking about it, they might be in between the two. So anyway, have questions, comments, leave them below. This is a pretty fun test. Hopefully we get a little bit more rain. I can do some more of these. And if you've got a 430 and it's in really, really good condition, let me know. I am shopping for one. I recently had a decent one come up and just didn't have the time to go to deal with it. So yeah, have questions, comments, leave them below. Thanks for watching.